right. We are good.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever actually done an interview on Skype, so I'm
Nice.
happy to
This
finally
is
do this.
somehow I have like three of these today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're never on Skype.
Right. It works
And,
out. I'm glad you got to do it. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you for doing this.
And we can jump right in because it sounds like you're in a press day. So
Yay.
yeah. Well, Foil Deer is fan freaking tastic.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
guessing that that's what most people tell you at this point. I don't know if anybody's actually come up to you and say, "Man,
Only
this
the
album
ones like
blows."
me. Yeah, my true friends are just like, this shit is terrible.
No,
Uh,
but it's great. What I instantly loved about it, like the music stands out at the beginning, and I know there's been a lot of talk about the music, about the maybe a little retro sound of it, but it's really your lyrics that got me on this. Like, you're an artist who's not afraid to start saying something with the lyrics.
cool.
And I think, and maybe, I don't know if you agree on me with me here, but like an artist isn't obligated to use their music as a podium or anything, but it seems like you kind of take that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how interesting my own life is, so I'd rather have music that has a purpose and maybe could be instigating in some positive way.
Yeah. And when you say instigating, is that like trying to push your audience to start a conversation, or is it just like, this is what I believe, stand with me or don't?
Um, some combination of the two, I think. I think there's certain politics that I'll just dismiss outright, but I think like a lot of the ideas that the last album introduces are um, maybe political ideas that haven't come into like the pop cultural lexicon
Uh-huh.
until pretty recently. So many people who are like getting interested in rock music haven't grown up with feminism or thought about it tremendously or thought about how their actions are impactful or erasing of other people's voices. So I think a lot of the lyrics in the album are sort of like subtle ways of introducing those ideas and at least lead in so I can talk about them in interviews. So,
Because you need something to talk about in interviews.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I'd even wondered if I should, hit on the whole subject of feminism only because you talked about it so much, and
I
I don't.
mean, I'm happy to talk about whatever, but
Yeah, well, I only mean that as, is there a point where you start to become almost known about, like, that's your thing, that becomes your thing, and is that such a bad thing when it's something like this?
I mean, I see so many bands whose like big long feature interview for their album is like, I have this drug problem, like I have just too much money to spend on drugs. Um, and I guess I'd rather my thing be, social justice warrioring, as it were, than like, you know, rich kid gets arrested with drugs. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm sick of reading about bands that, um, the impetus for an album is something like that or a breakup. Not to say that like drug problems aren't seriously legitimate and a problem, but I'd rather, um, I don't know. It seems to me that the ways in which lots of our societies ghettoized and denied opportunities and in very real danger all the time is a bit more of a serious subject, and I'd rather dedicate time to that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you know how we get past all of it at this point? Like say your lyrics start the conversation. Like, if you figured out, going back, let's say, to feminism as a very specific subject, like, in the world, even in, rock music, like, what's the answer? How is it solved? How do we get there to the promised land?
I don't know. Our world's pretty messed up.
It's pretty messed
We
up.
live in a pretty late capitalist world that I don't know how redeemable it can be. But I think one step is showcasing um, more kinds of voices that have been denied opportunities. And not that I'm like a poster child for a lot of those voices, but even still, like you look at festival lineups and women are not represented in the ways that they should be. Um, Very rarely do you see people of color performing in rock bands, or not to say that they're not in rock bands, but those rock bands don't get print or online coverage in the ways that, um, you know, for white guys do
Right.
still. And I think just like greater exposure to a wider array of voices is important to me, at least. So for us, like whatever tiny platform we have, we try to use towards pointing in the direction of other voices that we think are important. And like we're sort of, I'm doing like press stuff, but I'm sort of still It's just like weird. I don't have anything to say about myself so much anymore, but we try to use these things to bring awareness to issues that are important to us. Um,
Yeah.
to raise donations or to point to organizations we think are doing important work.
No,
So,
no, yeah, I don't think you should downplay yourself in that too, because I mean that again, that comes back to the platform. You have an incredible record that people are finding, and they're once they find it, it's that part of digging in a little bit more. I
yeah,
mean,
so once they find it, I'm like, go here and here and here instead.
well, I'll say this though, there's a million songs that's released every day, and most of them are completely forgettable, cotton candy or some variation of that. Like if you're going to find your favorite band, there has to be a reason why they're your favorite band. I think what you guys are doing is exactly, you know, it's good. That's the culprit. That's. I wish more bands would do that.
Well, cool, thanks.
Yeah, I assume you're paying close attention to the craziness that's happening in the election
I have. I
period
just saw
too.
that D's Nuts endorsed Bernie for Democratic candidate.
My
I
wife is
kind of
going
want to
for
reach out to
decent.
D's Nuts, honestly.
Yeah. Isn't it great though that that's what like I mean every you always have the old thing about Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse was always a candidate, the write-in candidate, but now it's like become so absurd that D's Nuts got 9% of the
I'm just
vote.
in North Carolina. It's
Yeah.
amazing. That's because, like, I mean, Donald Trump's such a clown. It's shocking to me that I thought that'd be a meme that died out in a week. At the very least, I have Donald Trump to thank for adopting the term "my wherever." So,
Yeah. I mean, is it
thank you,
so
Donald.
dumbfounding to you though that Donald Trump, as a woman in America, has that many supporters right now?
I can't say. I mean, I'm totally surprised, but I shouldn't be.
Yeah, because some of
Shouldn't
them
be.
have to be women, right? But the percentage, just the
Sure.
way it plays out, some of them are women actually saying, "Nope, this is the guy for me."
The level of idiocy that is so widespread sometimes gets pretty depressing. Did you see I don't know if you saw the Target getting rid of the gendered clothing for kids and
Mm-hmm.
toys, or at least the sections. And there were like all these comments on the Target Facebook page, just like
Yeah,
people like, I will no longer be
I'll no
supporting your
longer shop
store, and
here.
I'm taking my business to Walmart. Like, cool, like way to vote with your dollars. This is like, and the fact that these like, that political correctness is the crux of like Donald Trump. Donald Trump. I'm gonna have to get Donald Trump if this guy becomes president.
That's gonna be. I can't wait for that artist to come out.
Oh God. Um, the fact that rallying against political correctness is the crux of this guy's campaign is just like, who's really worried about political correctness tearing down our country's values? Like, it's just like a smoke and mirrors show to distract
Right.
from issues that would actually impact the people who are voting for him.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the many of the supporters of Trump, the ones who aren't like the super wealthy, obvious ones, are people who would benefit from, higher taxes for the wealthy or for redistribution of, um, federal spending. And their only concern is like that we can't, why are we allowing people to use the bathrooms that align with their gender? Like, so yes, I have been following the election.
You don't have a lot of hope for the future, do you?
And, no, I do. I don't think that Donald Trump will get elected.
Yeah. Well, that is. I mean, we're far enough out. I figure that pendulum. I don't know. He'll probably. What is the old phrase? Give him enough rope, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. It seems like he's been hanging himself over and over again, and he's still somehow in the race. So
Yeah. Is there anybody out there that you think is worth it
he's nuts.
besides these nuts? Obviously.
No, I went to a Bernie Sanders rally.
Yeah.
He's got his problems too, but in many ways, I think he most closely aligns with my ideas for how our country should run. And then I like a lot of what Hillary says. I think it's very likely that Hillary will wind up the Democratic nominee. In which case, I might just vote for Jill Stein again, but I wouldn't be too depressed with Hillary as president.
What do you think? We put Elizabeth Warren in the race, and then it becomes a
Right?
real battle.
I heard that that is being considered as a VP for Bernie Sanders if he gets the nod, so that would be an amazing ticket.
That would be an amazing ticket.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. And I don't mean to take away, we've spent all this time talking politics because I'm really interested in what you're saying, but there is a record out there and Foiled Deer, and you guys are promoting it. And it's been kind of
Yeah, I also have no idea how my bandmates like intend to vote or not. So
that's always a thing though. When you're
I
the
speak for myself alone.
Yeah, when you're the lead singer though, you kind of do that. You have that microphone, and I don't know, they have to follow suit. They just have to. They say, like, okay, that's who we are.
A lot of times we'll do interviews with all four of us, and then it's just like it can get a little convoluted because we do all have pretty different perspectives on at least this realm.
Yeah. Is anybody a Republican in the band?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
We did have like a pretty long car ride recently where this was like maybe 3 months ago or something.
Yeah.
Where we were just looking at all the people who were running for Republican. And it was just like the most nightmarish car ride. So it was like, really, this one? Like all the worst ones. How's every single worst one running?
Every single, and they're there. It's there. It's beautiful. This has never happened. It's a beautiful time to watch politics as long as it doesn't result in, the movie, was that Idiocy or whatever it was called?
Idiocracy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could be eating at Buttfuckers in a 2016.
Outside of politics, I wanted to ask you, you had, I don't know, did you have a leg up when you said you wanted to become a musician? Because your dad was part of the industry. Your dad was part of lots of different parts of the industry, right?
He did a lot of things.
Yeah.
I've kind of refused any of his help in any sense, and it was to his great frustration.
But it was even knowledge, though, right? I mean, that's something. That's at least...
Yeah, certainly like a lot of my desire to talk about and listen to music came from just growing up with him. Like, we had a record player in the house. Like, he would buy 45s to put in it and, tell me what they all were and things that he'd worked on. So I think, like, most of my... And also, like, he played piano, so I took piano lessons as a kid because that was what he did as well.
Right.
So in that sense, yeah, he had a lot to do with me pursuing music. But I also was very full-headed and didn't want too much input.
Yeah.
Which now I'm like,
if you'd wanted
input, but
yeah, if you'd wanted it, could he have really helped you out? If you had said, "Hey, I want to do this," I mean, was it that type of a thing?
Not really. He was like, the capacity in which he'd worked in the music industry was pretty peripheral, and he hadn't done it for, I mean, like early 80s. I think 81, 82. So any of the like major things that he worked for either have ceased to exist or nobody's still working in them. But he had, his friends were more like, he had maintained friendships with some musicians who were like pretty notable and interesting to me. Like he had stayed friends with Lou Reed until, both of them passed away.
Yeah.
And David Byrne was a neighbor, and so I didn't like know these people super well, but it would be like my dad being like, "Meet my friend David." I'd be like, "Dad, I don't care who your friends are. I'm trying to do my homework."
That's what I see. I'm that kind of dad. Like I've got he's almost 8 years old, and I wonder about that. Like, because I'm like trying to turn him on to all this stuff, and because you think of all the kids rebelling against their parents. I don't want my kid going, "Oh man, my dad just listened to rock and roll. I've got to do something completely different."
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I don't think that like we had too much musical taste in common. So maybe in a way, it was, he certainly didn't like very pleasing music.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he had worked for Z Records and like worked with James Chance. So I don't know. Like one of the last albums that we had like a long conversation about was Lana Del Rey. He really, really liked. So it's yeah.
And I'm sure you're really cranking the Lana Del Rey.
I actually really liked the last album.
The one that came out like what, last year?
With
West Coast and all that?
Yeah. There were some good tunes on that one.
She doesn't hit with me. And it's not because I have anything against her. It doesn't land with me.
It took me some time, and a lot of it still grates me. But there's some good tunes on that last one.
All right, I might go back and listen.
You don't have to.
Aside from touring, what happens with Speedy Ortiz from here?
I
mean, is there a break? Is there an end of campaign and then live your life for a little bit? Kind of
Well, I mean, we kind of like, I had like a pretty secure regular day job that I quit to do this. So it's kind of just like, let's see how much stuff we can do for as long as possible until no one wants to come to shows anymore.
Yeah.
We're sort of in that like survival mode of just, we will do things as long as anyone asks. What's up for us? We have a couple of videos we just finished, so we're gonna try to put those out. And we have a couple of, this is like the, speaking of like tying in politics, we have these covers that we recorded like months ago. But it's like, you know, when you see like bands put out a cover and it gets premiered on a blog, it's like just like an obvious promotional play, you know what I mean? And I'm like, what can we do with these that's like slightly more interesting?
Right.
So we're trying to figure out how to maybe like release them and have it somehow be tied to like donations for a charity. But it's complicated because we don't have the rights. When we've done that kind of thing before, we've had the rights to the song. But on these, like if we just put it up as a cover, that's fine, that's fair use. But if we're trying to fundraise, we have to clear all kinds of things.
Oh.
So that's like a thing we're trying to figure out right now.
Takes the fun out of it.
Not really, because if we get to donate a bunch of money to like, you know, Black and Pink, that would be great, or Planned Parenthood. But yeah, that's we're you know, we have these things ready to release. We're just trying to figure out a way to do them that's not totally goony.
Well, good luck on it. I can't wait to
Thank
hear
you.
it. It was really cool to talk to you.
Yeah,
and
you too.
This
Thanks
is one of my favorite
Skype.
records of the year, like without a doubt. So it really,
really
really is. That's I'm not throwing that out there as flattery. It's fantastic. So
That's cool. Thank you so much.
well done, you.
Ah.
All right. Thank you so much, and I'll see you around.
Yeah, thank you, Cal.
All right. Bye.
Bye.